respect you for doing a Bible study. It's a great thing to do.
Oh no, we started off as a men's group, and it just evolved into a family thing. We were all meeting together, and we were doing things like the Catholic Gentlemen and all those other groups like that, Exodus 90 type of thing. And the ladies were getting left out, and they were wanting, something to do. So we ended up combining them, and now we go to we were at the Catholic Mission in California, and we say the rosary and everything together as families and whatnot. Just last weekend, we were with Bishop Barron defending one of the missions here in California.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, so we try to stay active.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, how about yourself now that you're not taking the trip to the Holy Land? How's everything going?
Well, I have never had a chance to rest in my life.
Oh.
So normally we fly about 200,000 miles a year. And
Wow.
I go over to Poland and Israel and all those places probably 11 times a year and do conferences and missions and Bible studies. So to be grounded for a while, in a way, it's kind of a big blessing for our family. We get to spend time with our kids and grandkids. I have 18 grandkids.
Wow.
So it's kind of nice for us for a while, but I'm anxious to get back in the air again.
Wow. Any books or anything in the lineups or in the works?
Well, I'll show you here. This one just came out. This is called The Catholic Faith.
Nice.
An introduction to the creeds just came out last week. It's a nice book all about the creeds, and it's it's nice for families to read. Gives you the whole understanding of the Catholic faith. And I just wrote a 500-page book on Genesis.
Wow.
So, hello, I see somebody new here.
Yeah, so there's more people coming in.
So my book on Genesis is at Ignatius Press, going through editing right now. So that'll be about a 500. I don't think there's any good Catholic commentaries on Genesis, so this will be the first one, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those books where right now we're going through the study of John, the Gospel of John. And that's what we do on either Wednesday nights, or I moved it to Friday nights. And I know that you have a book. Yeah, exactly.
John's Gospel.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a big one too, 450 pages. But I give all the Jewish background and all the background, cultural background, because when John writes, if you don't understand the Old Testament and the book of Genesis and the way the Jews are thinking, you can't understand what he's saying. So that's why I love this book. It took me 2 years to write that one.
Amazing. And I wanted to start off with the book of John because it's very sacramental, it's very Eucharistic. Yeah. And so right now, especially right now with everything going on, all this Black Lives Matter, but I want to stay charitable, but whatever, all that nonsense. I was like, a lot of people are grabbing the book of Revelation, twisting it and everything, but that's why I was telling the guys, we'll read the book of John and then we'll move to the Revelation because they both go hand in hand. It's very mass oriented. So I wanted to tackle that. So
yep.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So, all right, Steve, Ray, welcome to the Burning Hearts group. This is our Bible study group. More and more people will start showing up. And if you guys, I don't know, you have to be a complete isolated and whatnot. If you haven't heard of Steve Ray, he's very instrumental to me. I'm sure a lot of you guys. And I heard his stories on the Eucharist. One of my favorite is the primacy of Peter. He gives excellent talks on the Eucharist and the primacy of Peter, authority and whatnot. Also, crossing the Tiber. Oh man, amazing stuff. So I wanted to just welcome you here, give you your roses while you're here, because you're very influential and very special.
I'm actually just a simple guy, born out on a farm, never went to college. I read my way into doing all of this. Wow. For those who don't know, I converted to the Catholic Church in 1994. My whole family was very anti-Catholic. We were Baptists. And I used to teach classes on how to convert Catholics.
Wow.
and Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons and all the other groups too. But the Catholics were the biggest cult. So, but 26 years ago, I saw all the problems in Protestantism, and that's what started my journey. It wasn't that I saw anything good about the Catholic Church. It was just I saw all the problems with Protestantism, and I almost became an agnostic until I realized, good night, that the Catholics have been here since the beginning. That's the church Jesus started, and I started reading the fathers of the church, and within a year, we were Catholics. Then I opened up our home, and on Sunday afternoons, I told everybody who didn't like the Catholic Church, come over and I'll make dinner for you and we'll talk. And so for 2 years, we did that every Sunday, and we had over 200 people become Catholics in that 2 years.
Wow.
So I love being Catholic, never look back, and I love what you guys are doing. I love seeing young folks like you. I know you're young folks, you're 34, I think you said, but I'm sick. I'll be 66 pretty soon. And my mom is 98 and a half. So I look at you guys now as good young guys, the next generation coming up, and I'm proud of you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's very great when we have speakers like yourself. We had Jesse Romero, Terry Barber, and all those guys stop by and say hi. And it's like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people like yourself who stay humble, stay hungry, and give us great content to digest. And I just wanted to say thank you, because it's very awesome that we have someone of your status here, a person that's been on EWTN, Catholic Answers, with the footprints of God and everything. So that's amazing.
Well, I never think of myself as a famous guy. You know, I just love the Lord. I always have loved the Lord. I love the church, and I have to do what I'm doing. I'm compelled to do it. And I love to write. I love to teach. We homeschooled all our kids, because my wife said, I know that when I teach them at home, at least I know they're going to be able to read and write, and they're going to know God created them in his image. And so now we have 4 kids. The youngest one is 28 years old. My oldest kid is 42, and 18 grandkids. So, and they all love the Lord too. No televisions in the families. None of the grandkids have television or iPhones. They all read books together. And
nice.
It's good. I mean, do you know, today we have to be countercultural.
Yeah.
You have to be different, and you can't just follow everybody else and follow the trends of the world. If you're going to be a Catholic today, you really have to be countercultural. You have to, in a way, be a rebel. And I always said when I was raising my kids, I'm raising rebels. I'm teaching them to rebel against the culture of death and atheism and all the secularism. And I'm teaching them to be. My son, when he was 16, says, "Dad, I'm going to get some earrings and some tattoos." I said, "No, you're not." I said, "Not in this house." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Why do you want to do that?" He said, "Dad, I want to be different." I said, "Jesse, everybody's getting tattoos and rings and body piercing." I said, "You're not going to be different by doing that." I said, "If you want to be really different, be an authentic Catholic, son, and everybody will notice you." And he took me up on it. Now that's all my kids are like that. They're all rebels for Christ.
That's awesome. And so, okay, so I heard you say something about the troubles of Protestantism and everything else. Now, this is why I created this group, because we have all the reasons. To me personally, there is no reason to ever leave the church, to ever quit on the church. Right. Now, how as us as Catholics do not get discouraged with everything that we see going on with it, whether it's in church or in politics, how should we stay focused and stay in the church and not leave? You've given great talks on the primacy of Peter and why authority matters, and that's why should we stay Catholic? Why be Catholic?
I think when you see the problems in the church and the world, it's all the more reason to be proud, because we've gone through 2,000 years with every generation had problems. There's never been a golden age in the church. Every generation had problems. All you have to do is go back and read 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Paul, you'd think, well, during the great apostle Paul, it would be perfect. Everything would be great. No, the church was horrible back then. People were sleeping with their fathers' wives, mothers. They all kinds of sexual immorality and drunkenness. There's never been a golden age in the church. And the fact that it's existed for 2,000 years shows me that it's the church Jesus started. And it's not whether you like the Pope or don't like the Pope, or whether we have good bishops or bad bishops. All of that's not the important thing. The important thing is Jesus Christ. It's his church. He's building it. And it's everybody. There was a guy once that said that I'm not worried about all the people on the outside trying to destroy the church. We've been trying to destroy the church from the inside for 2,000 years, and we still haven't succeeded in doing it. And so I'm always encouraged that the church keeps right on marching. We have problems in this generation. The next generation, your kids and my grandkids, they'll be in a church that has different problems than it's today, but it's still going to be the Catholic Church, and it's still going to have the chair of Peter, and it's still going to keep marching. Okay, look at it. Outlasted the Roman Empire. When the Roman Empire rose and fell, the chair of Peter was still there in the church. And then the Byzantine Empire rose and fell, and there's still the Catholic Church. And then the Ottoman Empire rose and fell, and there's still the Catholic Church. And the British Empire, and someday America and the West will fall. Maybe China will be next, who knows? But no matter what nations and empires rise and fall, the church will still be there. That's why I love being Catholic.
That's amazing. I try to tell people why authority matters. What would you say, Steve? Why authority matters? Like, why should we listen to these rules? And are they a lot of times we get the feeling that people just cherry pick. Oh, I'll go by this rule. I'll practice NFP, but I'm okay with abortion, or I'm a Catholic, but one of those.
I used to be a Protestant, a Protestant. That's really how you should pronounce it, Protestant. And when I became Catholic, my wife and I said, hey, we were Protestants before. I'm not going to continue being a Protestant. I'm now a Catholic. But the reason is because God knows what is best for us and what is for our fullest experience in life, for our thriving. And those rules that he gives us in the 10 Commandments and the teachings of the church are not to take away the joy from us. They're to give us the fullness of joy. I give an example I tell kids. If you're fish in a fish tank, and you look outside and you see people walking around and drinking a beer and going outside, and the fish say, wait a minute, how come we're stuck in the fish tank? This is a plot. It's a conspiracy. These people are keeping us here to keep us from having fun like they're having fun. So the fish get a big plan. And on Saturday morning, they all decide to swim, and they all jump out of the fish bowl together. On Saturday morning, they all fly out of the fish bowl and they land on the carpet. Are they better off now? No, they're all dead. They're dead because fish are made to live in the water. God created a universe for us, and he knows what's best for us. And if we live in the world that he's given us, and we live the way he made us to live, we're going to thrive and be happier. If you want to see joyful people, don't go look at people that watch pornography and drug addicts and alcoholics and people who are sleeping around on their wives. Those aren't happy people. If you want to see really happy people, joyous people, look at people who live in the heart of the church and obey the laws of God. They're the really happy, successful people. For example, I'm living with a wife I've been married to for 43 years. There are times where, you think, well, shoot, I could play around. No, you don't. You stay faithful to your wife. This is the way it is. And I'm now 43 years married. I'm 66. I'm the happiest guy in the world with this woman and my 4 kids. And I don't have any regrets. And I don't have any things to say, well, I'm sorry I did that, honey. If we follow the laws that God has given us, we're going to be the happiest people that there are. So I think that's why we follow the rules and the laws that God has given us, because that's the way he made the universe to work, and we're going to be happiest if we live that way.
See, and that's awesome that you're saying that, because in the world that we have like a bunch of relativism, we got to show why it's important to be Catholic. So how would you refute relativism?
Well, relativism says there are no absolutes. There are no rules. Well, that's an absolute right there. By saying that there are no absolutes, you just made an absolute rule. You already contradicted yourself. Liberals and relativists can never live consistently with their own teaching. Only a Catholic can live consistent with what we teach and what we know to be true. Because as soon as I'm a relativist and I say that there are no rules, that there is no God, I just do what feels good to me, then why should I respect you? I'm the only important thing, me. Why shouldn't I just knock you down if you're in my way? See, the relativist, the atheist relativist really has no ultimate meaning to life. They're just a collection of molecules and hormones and electronics. Why
Mm.
should I respect them? What gives them value? Why
Mhm.
shouldn't I? But if I walk up and stomp on their toe, they're going to say that was wrong. And I'm going to
Mm.
say, well, based on your idea, what is wrong? What is right? How do you know there's a right and wrong? It's all about you and your emotions. You will reject absolute truth.
Right.
So who are you to say that I can't punch you in the nose?
Uh-huh.
Why is that wrong? If 51% of us say that we can crush 49%, who says that's wrong? Might
Exactly.
is right. Once you get rid of God and absolute morals, might is right. And if I'm stronger than you, I can do anything to you I want. Nobody can tell me I'm wrong because we're survival of the fittest.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing, Christianity is what keeps society together. And once you lose Christianity, you'll see what happened in the last generation with Hitler and with the Stalin and Soviet Union. And you're seeing what's happening now in Portland, Oregon and Seattle. And you have all these Black Lives Matter and people that are trying to bring anarchy into our country. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in private property and the respect of individuals. You let that kind of thing go very long, the whole society comes collapsing down. Christianity gives society a foundation to be built on.
And that's, I love what you said right there, because one of the things to me that just grinds my gears now is that it seems like we got soft. It seems like we're not militant when we need to be. I get motivated when I see a movie like For Greater Glory. At what point do we just say, you know what, I'm tired of getting pushed, I'm gonna start punching back, I'm gonna start fighting and defending, and I'm not gonna be shoved to the side or watching my church burn or watching these statues
Good,
topple down.
good, me too.
Me and the rest of the Knights of the Columbus were right there in our mission, and we were like, we're tired of getting pushed around. We're
Yep.
gonna fight. So how do we as Catholics say enough's enough? And when we don't have our bishops back, what do we do? What are we supposed to do?
I think you're doing exactly the right thing. I think Christians ought to speak up. What the world is going to tell you, Fabian, that you Christians, it's all right for you to be a Christian and a Catholic, but keep it in your house and keep it in your church. Don't you dare bring it out into the marketplace, into public and into politics. When it comes to that, you Catholics, shut up. You have no right to bring your religion into the public life and impose your morals on us. Well, what do you think the damn liberals are doing? They're imposing their immorality on us. They're imposing abortion on us. They're imposing all of their crazy views on us. And we're not supposed to fight back and argue back. So I think it's great what you say. I wear this cross everywhere. When I'm in Muslim countries and in Israel, everywhere I go, all through India with the Hindus and people, they don't like the cross. Tough. That's what it's the truth. And I'm going to wear it everywhere. I like people to know what I believe.
Exactly.
And it's also a great way to witness. Then I'm not
Exactly.
going to go out punching people, but if I'm standing in front of a statue or I'm standing in front of my kids and somebody's going to come mess with me, then I will punch them. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's called self-defense.
Thank you. Someone finally said it. I was so happy because I see time and time again. Maybe 3 days ago, I saw a video of a lady getting punched at Mass. I'm like, when's enough enough?
If I was there, I would have tackled that puncher lady. I'd have tackled her on the ground and called the police.
Exactly.
Why didn't somebody do that? Why did they just let her walk away?
Yeah. Then that's what I'm saying. That at this point, it's right now is a slap or a punch. Eventually ends up being like our priest, God rest his soul, in France, that was beheaded or his throat was cut at the altar. Yep. When are we gonna just stop and say that's enough?
Yep, I agree. A funny thing is, if you read the book of Luke, the last thing that Jesus says after the Eucharist in the upper room, what did Jesus say right before they got up to leave? Make sure that you guys have some swords.
Exactly.
He said 2 swords should be enough. And I'll tell you what, commentators always try to sweep that away. Oh, well, he didn't really mean it, but he said it. And Peter had the sword when they got into the Garden of Gethsemane. They carried swords around for their self-defense. And people don't like the fact that Jesus said, make sure you have some swords after we leave the room.
So that's the thing. Like when it comes to like just war, we're okay to defend ourselves and whatnot. It seems like now we apologize more than we defend, and that's heartbreaking. Yeah. I mean, especially when we have people like, and I'm gonna get political now, but especially when people see on the big screen Biden representing what they think Catholics are, or Nancy Pelosi. And it's like, what are we supposed to do? Are we going to allow these guys to represent who we are, or
I call them
so
out.
exactly?
They're no more Catholic than the atheist down the street, as far as I'm concerned. In fact, they're more dangerous because they say they're Catholic and give the wrong impression of what we really are. I would rather just have them say that I'm an atheist or I'm something else. Because when you say you're a Catholic, but you don't practice what the Catholic Church teaches, you're really being a false witness. And then people think that it's okay to do that as Catholics. And if and then when bishops give them communion, it only says, well, it's okay, it's not really important. And I totally disagree with that. We ought to stand up and be, and in the early church, the early bishops would have never given those politicians Eucharist on Sunday.
Exactly. I was reading in one of the books, I think it was in The Lamb's Supper by Scott Hahn. I was reading at lunch about a day or two ago. It said that in the early church, the Christians wouldn't even tell non-Christians about the mystery of the Mass or receiving the Eucharist or whatnot. That's why the pagans were saying that they sacrifice their God and eat them and do this cannibalism thing.
Yep.
And here we are, years later, giving communion to people who blaspheme against our Lord by receiving him unworthily. I mean, that's discouraging.
Yep, it is. But the thing is, there's always going to be problems in the church. There's always going to be good bishops and bad bishops. And I think this was Fulton Sheen that told the story of a Jewish man who was going to go to Rome on business. But before he left, he told the bishop that he wanted to become a Catholic. And he says, you're a Jewish businessman. You want to become Catholic? Yes, I want to become Catholic. He said, well, I'll baptize you now. He says, no, I'm going to Rome first for a year of business. When I come back, then you can baptize me. Have you heard this story?
No, go ahead. I like this one, Steve. That's good.
And so the guy goes and he's there for a year and he comes back and the bishop says, well, are you still ready to join church? He said, yes. He said, you saw how poorly Rome is run, how there's a lot of bad bishops and politics and money, all that, and you still want to become Catholic even when you saw how poorly the Vatican is run? The guy says, absolutely. He says, if anything is that poorly run can exist and last for 2,000 years, it's got to be from God. So he got baptized. So I would just say, don't ever get discouraged with the church. And because here's another question I'd ask you. If you get discouraged with the church, where else are you going to go? What are you going to do?
Exactly.
Become a Mormon? Going to go join Islam? Going to become Protestant? Where else are you going to go? The Catholic Church is the only thing that keeps us from being slaves to the fads of our modern culture. Remember that. The reason that you're even asking me these questions is because you're Catholic and you realize there's a lot of fads out there, crazy ideas, and it's your Catholicism that keeps you from becoming a slave to all of those fads of the current age.
And I ask these questions because I feel like you are the right person to ask these questions too, because you don't hold back, and that's what we like. That's why I wanted to invite you here, because my next thing would be this. How should, and I'm saying it right now to all the people that are watching it right here, what are things that are non-negotiable when it comes down to voting? How should we be voting?
Well, I think that if you get the pro-life wrong, if you get the life issue wrong, you got everything wrong. If you start out by saying that human life is not of value, then nothing else you're going to say would I trust. Because how can you have anything else right if you start saying that human life is not? And if they're going to start allowing babies to be born and then kill them, why not just, my mom is 98 years old right now. She'll be 99 in a couple months. She's not a productive citizen anymore. She's sitting in a wheelchair. She talks and she's sharp, but why not just kill her? She's not being a productive. What is she doing? She's just wasting money and wasting people's time. Because as soon as you say that the baby in the womb doesn't have value, then pretty soon no human life has value. Then you can get rid of people that don't fit your way of thinking, or you think they're costing too much money in society. So I think that right there is by far the big issue. I don't see how a Catholic cannot in good conscience vote for a politician who is an abortion politician. And these guys are even more radical because they want to let the baby be born, make them comfortable, and then kill them. And pretty soon then you'll be able to have a baby for a year. And if you don't like the baby or you see it has problems, it's called euthanasia. And it's already being done in some countries. So that's one. Another one is religious freedom. If you don't have a politician who's willing to defend the freedom of people to worship and for the nuns to not have contraceptive and things in their health care plan, the little sisters of the poor.
Yep.
If you have, you need to vote for people who are going to defend religious freedom, who are going to defend our country and defend law and order and defend the family and put judges in the court who are going to defend human life and freedom. It's our responsibility. And I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of people that someday their grandkids are going to say, well, Dad, how come the world got so bad? You were back then. What did you do? How come you didn't do something, Dad? How did you vote, Dad? And I think that we as Catholics need to stand up. And today we're just watching the Republican National Convention, and a nun came on, and she was explaining how President Trump is pro-life. He's the most pro-life president we've ever had, and we need to stand up and defend and protect him. Well, this is, I think, the number one issue really is the life issue. But then a lot of other things, the private property, the freedom of speech, and the left is trying to stop us from having the freedom of speech. They do not want Christians to have the freedom of speech in the public square, in schools, in universities, in the politics, or in the marketplace, or in our businesses. We're not allowed to show our Christianity. And if we allow that to continue to happen, pretty soon we will be an outlawed group of people, Christians will, especially those who speak their mind.
And it's happened before. As I said, look at what happened in Mexico no more than 100 years ago with the Cristeros and whatnot. Their rights were stripped. And that's why I have a problem when people say, oh, Catholics are just single issue voters, they are pro-life and that's that. No, there's other reasons, as you gave, euthanasia and freedom of religion, abortion. There's many things that you just can't go against the church on these things.
If I lived back in Mexico, I would have been a Cristeros.
Exactly. I would have been riding with you. So how is it when you're in the Middle East and you're seeing, here's Orthodox, here's the Jewish people, now here's the Islam, like how does that work? Do they have like this ecumenism thing, or do they just stick to their beliefs and they don't water it down?
No, I would say that most religious people don't really practice what they believe in. So Islam teaches that you convert people by the sword, that you can have a lot of wives, that you Islam, if you want to know what I think about Islam, go to YouTube and type in Steve Ray Islam. I gave a talk at Franciscan University. They asked me to come to Steubenville. Scott Hahn asked me to give a talk on Islam. And I said no, because I would be way too controversial. I'm not going to lie about it. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. And I gave the talk, and it's called What Every Infidel Should Know, meaning you're an infidel and we're being lied to in America about Islam. So I gave that talk. But the point is that 90% of Muslims don't practice Islam the way it was supposed to be practiced, because if they did, they'd be fighting everyone. But they want to just get along. Mostly when you're over in Israel, say, for example, the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims, most of them, they're just getting along because they don't want to fight. They want to go to work in the morning. They want to take care of the kids. But always you have in any of those groups some really radical ones that are really practicing what their religion teaches, and they cause the trouble. But most of the time, if you can have a Muslim next door to a Jew, next door to a Christian, and they all get along fine, as long as they're not being really radical about what they believe. But Islam is very dangerous.
Okay, so why do you think that the left embraces Islam?
I have no idea. It's the mystery of the century, except for the friend of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the left and Islam both hate Christianity and the West and Donald Trump and the Catholic Church. So I think that the liberals, even though they promote gay homosexuality, Muslims stone homosexuals. They kill them.
Right.
So why are liberals so cooperative with Islam in defending them? The only thing I can think of is the saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend," because
Right.
they're very different, and they should be enemies too.
And that's what I don't understand either, because then you have ladies who are feminists, quote unquote feminists, and then they're all about Islam, and it's like, do you not see what kind of rights they have in Islam
If you
being
allow
covered?
if you allow Islam to take over like it does when it gets the majority, those feminists and homosexuals who are supporting Islam will be very surprised,
Mhm.
because Islam does not tolerate feminism, it does not tolerate homosexuality, and it will put an end to all of those things. And so it's a dangerous, and you've got two big dangers, I think three actually. You've got Islam, which is 1 billion people, and I think it's a very dangerous religion. You have China, atheistic China, which is also over 1 billion people, who are also very dangerous for our future. And then you've got in the West, atheistic, relativistic materialists, which are just as dangerous. All three of those isms are dangerous. And here we are, these little Christians trying to raise our families in the midst of this. And it's not,
Mhm.
it's a scary time.
Hmm. And that's interesting, because we gotta be careful from everything that we do, everything that we consume. All right, so now changing a little bit of the subject, Mr. Steve Ray, if you're cool with it.
I could stay about 5 more minutes, if that's all right.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'll be fast. What is your view on vaccines that have stem cell?
Well, of course, that's a violation of God's laws. You can't kill a baby to try and make stem cells. So
Okay,
it's absolutely, we should be opposed to that. And
okay.
any politician who approves it, I'm opposed to them.
Okay. Here, I got these last three. You can rapid fire them if you want, but
All right.
they're pretty heavy. They're firing at me on the chat. Here's question number one. Uh, do you have any thoughts on all the talks surrounding Vatican II, as we seem to have a divide on how we should move forward? Is it that Vatican II has been properly implemented, or do we need another council to better clarify things? Do we need to go back to more traditional?
Vatican II was not well implemented, as we know. But if you look at any of the councils of the church, all of them, things were worse for 50 years after the council before they got better. The Nicaea Council in 325 was to fight the Arians. Arians said that Jesus was not God. He was a creature. He was not of the same substance as the Father. When they announced that Jesus Christ was God, homusion is the word. He was of the same nature as the Father. There's a trinity of equality there. Things got worse for the next 500 years. For the next 100 years, Arianism got stronger. So whenever you have a council, you can expect things to be worse for the next 50 to 100 years before they actually get better. Vatican II is a legitimate council of the church, and what happened was it got hijacked by a bunch of liberals who said they were going to have the spirit of Vatican II, and they tried to undermine what Vatican II really taught. Two heroes and champions of Vatican II, who are heroes and champions of mine, are John Paul II and Benedict XVI. Both of them defended and taught Vatican II the way it should be taught and practiced. Now you've got a whole bunch of people coming along who are starting to challenge it and say it's full of heresy. And there's a group called the Rad Trads, radical traditionalists. Stay as far away from them as you can, because what they say is they reject that after Vatican II, the church is no longer the church. There's never been a pope on the chair of St. Peter since Vatican II, and they want to recreate the church somehow or go back to the way it was. The church changes, it moves along. They say, well, we should have the Mass in Latin because that's the first Mass. No, it wasn't. The first Mass was in Aramaic. And then the Mass was changed to Greek. And for the next 500 years, it was Greek and then Latin. And then it's still the Latin should be in the Mass, but a lot of the priests in that have moved away from what Vatican II wanted there to be the Gregorian chant. And nobody does the Gregorian chant, but Vatican II, you go back, it said it should have the pride of place. So I think that in many ways, the Catholics, the Vatican II has not been properly instituted.
Mhm.
And we should go back to what it really teaches. And I think John Paul II and Benedict are good examples of that. But one thing I've always learned, Fabian, when I get into any organization, whether it's business or a club or a government or anything, always identify the far left and then identify the far right and stay as far away from both of them as you can. And in the
Nice.
church, we have the radical lunatic left, like Father James Martin and some others, and a bunch of bishops too who are right with him. And on the other side, though, you've got the radical right, and these are a bunch of guys that, like Pius XII and so on, that where they rejected the Vatican II, and they say the Pope is not the Pope. They're just as dangerous. I say identify both of those and stay as far away from both of them as you can.
Yeah, because you end up doing some kind of Protestantism kind of thinking with that whole rejection. Here's your last two, if you're okay with that, Steve.
The authentic Catholic. So what's the next question?
All right. So the next one is, do you have any comments about what someone should do if they have gone through an IVF, had a child, but now have frozen embryos, but do not want more kids? What is the best solution to this type of issue from a Catholic point of view?
You know, I'm not a moral theologian, and I'll answer questions that I feel competent to answer, but there are some that I don't feel competent to answer. And that is more a question for, it's not something that I've studied or thought about, something better to ask a moral theologian, which there are many of them, but ask a good one.
Okay, here's this one. Top 3 books to read. Where does he recommend a faithful Catholic to get his news?
There's a lot of good news sources today. I do not recommend CNN, and I do not recommend National Catholic Reporter. That is the liberal Jesuit magazine. But I think that Catholics would be well served by getting the National Catholic Register, which is put out by EWTN. You can get it on the internet. I get most of my news just on the internet. There's a great daily thing called The Catholic Thing. The Catholic Thing. It's free and it comes every day. Another one is called The Loop. The Loop, if you want the politics and Christianity and relationship to politics on. It's called The Loop. Just go and get that. It's every day comes out. It's excellent, by Catholics, very solid Catholics. If you get books from Ascension Press or Ignatius Press, you know you're getting good stuff because they won't publish crap. They won't publish anything that's bad. And you know, if you go on my website, I've got all kinds of good stuff on my website, and there's so many good websites now. There's no sense wasting time with books that are written by liberals and that are, as far as I'm concerned, they're so lacking in content, they're a waste of time. They're written for people who have minds like mush. We as Catholics should have alert, solid, quick minds, and there's a lot of good news sources out there. If you want my book on John, do you have a copy of my book on John?
I haven't got that one yet. I was looking at it, and where can we support it? Where can we get it?
Well, when you're done with this, send me your address. I'll mail you a copy. I'll give you a copy.
Oh, wow. Through the email? I'll send you.
No, send me an email, your address, but I'll mail it to you in a package. I'll mail you the book.
Wow, awesome.
And then maybe everybody in your Bible study will want to get a copy. So because it really will help you on John. But in my book, Crossing the Tiber, for people who really want to know why we're Catholics and not Protestants or some of those other groups. But I think those books written by Scott Hahn, Patrick Madrid, Father Mitch Pacwa, there's so much good stuff out there today. And it all depends really on what people want to learn. Do you want to learn apologetics? Do you want to learn the Bible? Do you want to learn moral theology? Do you want to learn church history? So whatever you're interested in, there's lots of books on that. On my website, if you go to catholicconvert.com,
I love that one.
Resources, I have recommended books. And I have it broken into categories: apologetics, the end times, moral issues. I've got over 100 books that I recommend. It's a little outdated, but it's still very good. I need to go in and update it. But CatholicConvert.com resources, and I have hundreds of documents and articles there to read. I have hundreds of conversion stories.
Mhm.
And every day I put up a blog with interesting things that Catholics need to know.
I still use it. I like that website.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's very awesome. Yeah.
I try to
But-
keep it very active and fun, but
Uh-huh.
also hard hitting.
Yeah, it's very good, and I like how you break everything down by section, so it's easy to navigate. A lot of people don't break it down like that, so when you're looking for a certain subject, it's hard to get it. And I like how you do it. It's very awesome.
Well, I should get going now because it's a lot later here than normally. We're in bed by 9:30, 9 o'clock, and that's already 10:30 here. But
All right.
we go to bed early and I get up early. Because normally when we went to Israel, we'd get back, we'd wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning because of the jet lag. And
Right.
we pretty much just stayed on that schedule because we were going to just fly back in a couple of weeks anyway. So
Nice. Yeah.
we get tired early. And also you'll find out, Fabian, when you get older, you start getting tired more.
Oh,
You
yeah.
You don't have the energy. It really is infuriating because inside I feel like I'm 18 years old, but my body just kept saying to me, no, you're not. No, you're not.
No, we appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully next time, we can invite you again and
Sure,
have you again.
send me an email a month or two down. We'll come on again if you want me back. I mean, we come
Of
back.
course. We would always want you back. Yeah. So
I want to just say hello to everybody else. I can't see you all. I can see Rosa Rojas right now. I can see her. And John and Christine, I've been able to see a little bit there. And I see a family picture of Teresa, it says, and John's iPhone. But other than that, I don't see anybody. But greetings to all of you. Stay strong in your Catholic faith. Learn the Bible. Learn the tradition. Raise your kids to be rebels. Raise them to stand up for the truth. And remember that there's nothing more important than the family. And consider the family like a great masterpiece of art. It's going to take a whole lifetime to finish this great masterpiece of art, but you want to see it hanging in the halls of heaven sometime, in the great hall of fame in heaven. There is John and Christine's family. There is Fabian's family. And think of the family as a great work of art that's going to take a whole lifetime. Or tell your kids also that the family's like this exclusive club. Nobody else can join it. You can only get born into this family. You are so lucky to be a part of this club. Don't ever do anything stupid and get kicked out of this club. You want to be a part of this club the rest of your life. And remember two other things. Kids will love what their parents love. If you love the faith, if you love to evangelize, if you love to go to mass, your kids will love what you love. And second of all, the most important thing a father can do for his kids is love their mother.
Beautiful. That is beautiful.
Just a few words of wisdom from an old guy that learned all of this, the hard way. That's how I learned it, by pulling my hair out all my life.
That's beautiful.
God bless you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
I'll send you my email. I'll see you later.
Send me your mailing address too, and I'll send you the book.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
God bless. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.